Right before I left, I whipped together a brace to keep panels from sliding through the windshield if I had to stop real fast. I made these panels to make this little portable cabin with a wood stove for chilly nights like this, and it all fits inside my Jeep Cherokee. Tonight I'm camping up at 9,400 feet at Warner Lake Campground, which is only about 15 miles east of Moab's straight line distance, but it takes about an hour to drive here from there. It's also over 5,000 feet higher in elevation, and it's much chillier camping than the last few days have been. This will be the final night of a 5-night road trip, testing my cabin out in different locations, getting to know the hot tent stove a little better before I take it out in snowstorms, and also to gauge the response of setting it up in organized campgrounds. I only brought shorts and luckily this hoodie with me on this trip because I originally planned on camping down lower, where this week the high temperatures have been in the 70s each afternoon and the lows in the 40s. Up here, the warmest temperature I saw today was 40 degrees. I live in Colorado and I ski all the time. I also love to take road trips, especially during snowstorms, to try to catch powder days at other resorts. If I'm lucky, I have friends to stay with where I'm going, but I usually end up staying in a cheap motel, and sometimes I just sleep in my car, especially if I get there in the middle of the night. That kind of leads me to why this idea came about. I thought I might be able to set this up somewhere on a ski trip and stay warm for the night. I've tried it a few times and it definitely works great, but it's challenging, if not impossible, to find a campsite anywhere near a ski area, especially during the winter. Other cons are that I would not leave this set up unattended somewhere, so I have to spend a good hour or more tearing it down and packing it back up in my car. And also, everything is very smoky smelling in the morning, and probably not so healthy either. The big pro, though, is that it is very warm and cozy inside the cabin, especially when it's snowing. And it reminds me of when I used a wood stove for heat for the winter at some of the ski town places that I've lived. I finally came up with the idea of making this cabin in the fall of 2023. That fall I designed this cabin and began building it. I built it throughout the winter of 23-24. I finally took it out for the first time late spring of 2024, and then throughout that summer I learned how to edit that footage I got and made a YouTube video out of it and posted it. That's the first video on this channel. This was the 8th night overall that I've set up this cabin, and still learning how to video for YouTube, and definitely still terrified to talk on camera. That's why I'm doing this voiceover right now, which isn't much easier for me yet. Anyways, when I designed this cabin, I wanted to be able to put this together and take it down without making any noise. So I designed it with some pre-drilled holes and some brackets on the corners that I can push clevis pins through and then use a cotter pin to secure it. I don't need to use any tools, though I found it's nice to have a crowbar with me to pry up one of the panels to get it to line up with the one next to it if I didn't get the floor perfectly level. Here at this site, it was super easy to get the floor panels level since the ground is so flat here. Last night I had a little bit of issues with the wind, but today it's so calm and there's no wind in the forecast. I decided to not put the brackets on that really secure the roof panels, and it turned out just fine. It was a very calm night. Depending on where I decide to set this up, it usually takes between 15 minutes to maybe up to 45 minutes to get the floor panels level before I even start to stand up the walls. Standing up the walls, I think, has maybe taken as little as 20 minutes if I have all the panels close by and staged. And I think it also has taken maybe up to 45 minutes to do the walls and roof panels. Maybe a little bit longer when I set it up in the snow. Here today I was in no rush at all, so I just took my time. As I'm editing this video and hearing the crunch of the leaves under my feet, I can almost feel that crisp autumn air. There was no bugs up here. This was an absolutely perfect day, super scenic, as you'll see in a couple minutes here, and it was so quiet. I had the campground completely to myself this evening and through the night. When I first got to the campground today, there was one car here over by the trailhead, and shortly after that, I saw one hiker come back past the lake, and they got in their car and drove off. In the morning, a couple hunters showed up and started setting up camp just as I was loading my cabin into my car. Some of the wall panels are interchangeable, so of course I set them up with the windows facing the snow-capped mountains and towards the lake. I'm also setting up my table on this short wall facing the windows for the evening before I use these same parts to make my bed. I stopped for a burger and a shake for lunch at Milt's in Moab before heading up here. Now I need a quick PB&J sandwich and some tea to drink. Then I'm walking over to this awesome little lake. It's only 200 yards away across this meadow, but first I'll show you the signs at the trailhead. The storm that dropped the snow here also hit the southern mountains of Colorado with enough snow for Wolf Creek ski area to open for the season. If I had my ski stuff with me, I'd swing by and ski for a day on the way home. Here's a few pictures I took of these aspen trees on October 2nd, last time I was here about 10 years ago. And this was only about 3 weeks earlier than today's camp. I have to jump back in here and say that I've used my camp stove like this to help get campfires going if I collected wet wood. I thought it would be cool to show this technique here, but this will be the last time I'm doing this indoors. Since this trip, I saw someone doing this on YouTube with this style of camp stove to light a campfire, and it looked like some fuel spilled out of the top onto the ground with a flare-up. Not good if it landed on the floor of this cabin, or skin, or clothes. Good morning. It's 7:45. I've been up for about 45 minutes now. There's frost on the leaves. These are the LaSalle Mountains. I'm at Warner Lake Campground, and last night when I went to bed there was not a single other person up here. As it was getting dark, I could hear a couple different gunshots off in that direction past the lake, and then a couple more gunshots out that direction. It's hunting season. They were both pretty far away. I got the hot water in here, but that's where I want to put my oatmeal. Just clean that lid. Put the hot water in there. Let's walk over to the lake. Teardown is pretty quick and easy, especially when I speed up the video. Except for the one in the second video where I set the cabin up a little farther from my car, and also the ones in the snow, but those ones are my favorite. Well, this is my alternative to van life. I guess if I could have afforded a van, I would have never thought of making a cabin like this. Don't go yet. I want to show you this epic mountain bike trail that goes right next to this campground. Shoot me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you've seen anything like this. And do you know of anywhere in Colorado, Utah, or Wyoming where I can camp with this cabin? That cabin and all my gear is loaded up in my car and in the pod on top. This area is clear enough. Here's my point of view. I can see through the side view mirror. I can't see back behind me. So when I change lanes, the only way I can really change lanes from the left lane to the right lane is to go past somebody fast enough that I can see them go on by and then be able to get over into the right lane. So because of that, I spend a lot of my time just driving in the right lane. Well, I'm going to head down the road. This was the first time that I've camped at this campground, but I've been through here about a dozen times while riding the Whole Enchilada mountain bike trail. Out of all those rides, these are the few photos and videos that I've got on this trail over the years. It's a 30-mile, mostly downhill and mostly single-track trail with a vertical drop of over 7,000 feet, or 48 kilometers, and more than 2,100 meters of drop. The Burro Pass section goes past Haystack Mountain in the background of most of this video and goes right next to this campground before continuing to the Hazard County section, then Kokopeli, UPS, and LPS sections, and finally continuing down the Porcupine Rim section of the trail. Most people use one of the shuttle services out of Moab to get to the top of the trail, or put one car at the end of the trail and take another to the top. September and October, until it snows, are the best times to ride this trail. Thank you for watching, and check out another one of these videos. I'll catch you next time.